My name is Kara Froman. I am the Director of Client Services here at Tutor.com, focused on our government and K-12 school partners, Gear Up programs, ETSs, Upward Bounds. Many of the students, if you are not one of those partners, many of the other attendees on the call would be the teachers that serve those students. So welcome to one and all. We are glad to get started. Today, we are going to talk about Tutor.com. So for those of you who might not be familiar with what Tutor.com is, we're going to do a quick, brief overview so that you know about the great service that these students have access to and how it works. We're going to talk about Tutor.com for the classroom, and the classroom there is in quotation marks because classrooms can mean lots and lots of things this year. Unlike previous years, we might be talking about a online learning experience, some online engagement. Your face-to-face time as a student with your teacher is through a Zoom meeting or something similar to that. We're also going to talk about incorporating Tutor.com a little bit more specifically for teachers for their class activities as the students go through some form of online learning, and also engaging families, because now more than ever before, parents, those caring adults that are at home with those students doing those remote days or those virtual learning days are going to be the ones who are asked to help solve the problems and asked to help with the questions. And so engaging families and letting those folks know that Tutor.com is available, what it is, and how their students get access to it is going to be really, really critical this year more than ever. We're also going to review some outreach resources that we have. Some you may be familiar with, some you maybe not be familiar with as much. We're going to show you how to get access to all of those. I'd also like to point out that in the handout section of your GoToWebinar, I have placed some information for you. One of the things that you will find there that you can grab from there would be a PDF version of the slides that I'm using in today's webinar. You'll also find a few outreach resources that we'll talk about in more detail later. You'll notice though those calendars that are in the handout section, one is labeled MIL, M-I-L. That would be applicable for those of you who have students who access Tutor.com through the program that is funded by the Department of Defense for military kids. And the other one, K-12, would apply to just about everyone else. And so that I can more easily understand who all of you are on today's call and direct my comments accordingly, I wanted to do a quick poll. So I'm going to throw a question at you right away. It's not a hard poll, but these are not hard questions. But we're wanting to know, for those of you on today's webinar, how do your students access Tutor.com? Do they access Tutor.com through the program funded by the Department of Defense for military kids? Do they access through a grant program like funding from a Gear Up or Upward Bound or a talent search program? Do they access it through a K-12 school program? Do they access it through a public library program or something else? All right, just a few more minutes, a few more seconds rather, just to give everybody a chance to find their answer and click. All right, and we're going to close it. All right, so it looks like we have a good mix there. Most have students that access Tutor.com through a partnership with their school in some way or through the military program. So welcome one and all, and let's get started. All right, so let's talk about what is Tutor.com. For those of you who may not be familiar with Tutor.com, very quickly, Tutor.com is a live connection to a subject matter expert tutor online, on demand, in an online multimodal classroom that contains access to the tutor, the connection to the tutor, whether it's through an audio connection or a type chat connection. That conversation takes place, all contained within our safe and secure online classroom. That in learning engagement takes place on a whiteboard and through direct conversation with the tutor. In the online classroom, there are lots of tools that would be available to the student that are in that classroom. We want students to be as comfortable and have as many tools at their disposal as they need, and in a very similar way that they would have access to in a sit down in front of a whiteboard type of classroom with smart boards and the teacher or the professor or the instructor right there, and all of those things as needed based on whatever content, the question the student brings to the service. There is also a code editor if needed, a text editor for working on pieces of writing, and also file sharing. So these just give you an idea of what the online classroom looks like with these tools. They are used as needed throughout the session because the session is based entirely on the question or the content that the student has brought to the service and needs help with. There is also an option for a writing review. So students have an option of dropping off a piece of writing and getting it back, returned to their account after review by the tutor. It's always going to be within 12 hours. It's oftentimes much sooner than that, much quicker than that. But there is a form that they fill out where they give the tutor all the information about their assignment, from what grade level they're in, when is their draft due, where they are in the writing process, what citation format they're using, etc. No matter what type of session it is, whether it's a drop-off writing session or a live one-to-one session, the tutors are going to be helping the student, guiding the student through the work, letting the student do the work for him or herself. We find that this approach brings students to that educationally sound conclusion, that aha moment where they indicate to the tutor, yes, I have understanding of this now. That improves their confidence. As they go forward, the idea is that just-in-time help is very effective. The students learn what they need to learn. They are guided, supported, encouraged by the tutors. They're more confident than returning to school the next day or returning to their online class the next day with their homework done and ready to move on. We do collect feedback from students after every session. There is a post-session survey where we get student feedback directly from them, even in the form of some subjective comments that they can leave in their survey. All of this information is packaged up along with the usage data and reported back to the organizations who fund the service for the students. Isn't this just for homework? Tutor.com is an academic support program. Absolutely, yes. Students can get help in all subjects of math, English, science, history, foreign language. We also offer study skills coaching. That's something new to Tutor.com this spring, is the study skills coaching for all ages, where not only can students get help from an academic tutor for their academic questions, students can also get help from expert tutors on topics like how to get organized, how to take notes, how to set goals, how to practice good study habits. And we find that as students are spending less and less time in their physical classrooms these days, they are absolutely in need of coaching in this way, as well as help with their academic work. since they have less face-to-face time with all of their teachers. How do my students get access? So students will access Tutor.com through a variety of ways. There's websites that are typically circulated by the organizations that fund the access for Tutor.com to students, and that will lead the students to a website where he or she will put in their username and password or create their account to log in and connect on demand 24/7 with a tutor to get help with their questions. All right, so it's time for another poll. Everyone on this call is likely in a different location across the country, and we have heard lots and lots of stories about how schools have planned to have students return. So we're just curious, in your area, how are your students returning to school this year? Are they returning all virtually or all online with all online instruction and no in-classroom time? Are they doing 100% in person or on campus? Are they doing a hybrid, a mixture of something online or on campus? Or is there some other configuration that is being used in your area? All right, looks like it's either all virtual or hybrid, a mixture of both. But in all cases, there's some element of online learning that's taking place for all of these students. All right. So let's take a step back and think about Tutor.com and how we can support students of all ages and of all skill levels. A lot of times we're fond of saying that Tutor.com is broccoli and not chocolate cake. Sometimes students here, they have access to this service and we understand how valuable it is, but they may not immediately grasp how wonderful this program is because it has the word tutor in it. So sometimes the folks that are talking to the students and encouraging the students to use the service should understand that this program is not just for struggling students. We have a one-size-fits-all solution because not all students are the same, and they may be different. They may be high achieving across the board. They may be higher achieving in certain subjects. It's all very subjective, and it just depends on the student. So we have solutions in mind for the high achieving students. Those are your students who make A's and B's. Those students are more likely to use all the available resources. They're likely to use tutoring like Tutor.com without much persuasion. They can recognize the value of something that supports them on demand. They can use Tutor.com for support in taking the challenging classes that they're more likely going to take. We also have a solution in mind for the middle of the road student. This is the student who is a solid C student. This is the student who may occasionally seek extra help and might use tutoring, maybe to keep from failing an assignment, but maybe not proactively as some other students might. We also can help the struggling students. These are the students that are rarely passing, also rarely seeking the help from any outside resources, and they might use tutoring, but only if they need to, only if they have to. But Tutor.com is a place for all of those students to receive help. So let's think about this. These students are fictional. However, they're representative of the types of students that we hear from all of our partners that use the service. And like in this example, this would be Maria. And her primary language spoken at home is Spanish. She speaks some English, and now she's come to school and she is behind in math. And her teacher teaches at a faster rate than her language skills allow her to understand, and it's frustrating. Maria can use our bilingual Spanish-English subject matter expert tutors for help in subjects of math and science and history. And she can also work with our ELL tutors, our English language learner tutors, for writing assistance. So let's think about Greg. Greg is always super prepared. He's studying, he's reviewing his material, but he needs some reassurance. He needs some encouragement. I think all of us might know a Greg. Greg can work with Tutor.com because our tutors specialize in building confidence in the topics that the student is struggling in. Greg needs to be shown our resource and how it works, but once he understands that, once he tries it and understands truly what it's like to work with the Tutor.com tutor, Greg is very much more likely to continue to engage, get help from the tutors, get encouragement, get help when he's stuck, get his work checked, and improve his confidence. So we have certain outreach resources that are really great for reaching students, and we'll talk about these in a little bit more detail, but there are shareable documents that are great to share with not only older students, but families as well, like a How It Works guide. We have printable things like bookmarks. We have graphics that you can use for social media posts. So if you are part of a program that offers social media connection to your families, we give you what you need in a lot of ways to continue to refresh those posts on an ongoing basis and continue to engage those students and those families in that way. Now, we encourage you to use social media. We encourage you to reach out to specific departments within your school. For example, the English department, to let them know that Tutor.com is available to review a student's first draft of their research paper before they turn it in. Or Tutor.com is there to help students that are struggling in math. In fact, math is our most requested subject across the board at Tutor.com. Students struggle with math all over the place. And you can also equip the teachers, or teachers, you can equip yourselves to use the program during your school hours, during your courses, as some of what the students are going to be required to do this year is online, is not going to be when they are sitting in your classroom face-to-face with the teacher learning that way. Your client services team here at Tutor.com is all ready to help you do all of those things, reach all of those resources. I've linked several of them here in this document that is available to you in the handout section. But we are always ready to help you at Tutor.com, your client services team, and I'll post the contact information for both of those teams, whether your students access through a K-12 partner relationship or through the military program. Your high school students. So think about Rena. Rena is high achieving. She wants to be the valedictorian of her class. She is taking AP classes. She may or may not be prepared for all of them, but she wants to achieve. She needs to know that that support is there for her 24/7. Our tutors can help reinforce the fundamentals that some students may be missing. I once read a session transcript of a Tutor.com session that was held by a calculus student. That student was having trouble with a particular type of work. The tutor was able to determine that that student had in fact not learned properly how to factor. And the tutor was able to provide that instruction just in time and got the student up and going and on their way with their calculus work in a very short period of time. So we do have AP level tutoring actually available in Tutor.com in more than 20 subjects. So students can make sure that they're right on track and feel supported in those more challenging classes that they're taking. Your high school students may also be short on time. High school students tend to have a lot of obligations. So let's think about if there is a student that has a strict schedule, they're up in the morning to do their online, their virtual instruction, to get on with their remote work, to have their school day, that student may have a part-time job after school or other obligations like taking care of younger siblings or any number of things that are demands on a student's time as that student gets older. The student still needs to get his homework done, his classwork done, his schoolwork done. And he might need support in managing his time to keep him on track. So Tutor.com allows for drop-off essay reviews. Students can schedule sessions with tutors. They can take practice quizzes, and of course, our on-demand academic subject matter expert tutors are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so that no matter when this student needs to log in to get help with work, we are there for that student, and we can help make his study time more efficient and more effective. Reaching high school students and their families, we really recommend social media, Instagram. Connecting with us on Instagram, having the students connect with us on Instagram or on Facebook is a good way to give those families directly information about Tutor.com. Connecting with you on Facebook, you can reshare. We make things very easy to reshare those posts. You can also promote that AP and tutoring that we have for those students working through SAT or ACT prep materials as well later on in the year. There are posters, there are flyers, there are shareable documents that you can send out however you communicate with your students, through newsletters or through email blasts or some other way, electronically communicating with them. Teachers can even post this information in your online instructional delivery, whether it's Zoom or Google Classroom or what have you. That stuff can be shared there too, as well as included with the coursework that the students are assigned. All right. So Tutor.com for the classroom. Again, the classroom is in quotes because we're talking about what the classroom means to students these days, whether it's virtual, on campus, hybrid, remote, what have you. So it's time for another poll, and this is our last one. When you are reaching students, what challenges do you face? You can select all that apply to this one because there may be more than one answer. Is it that there's a lack of devices or connectivity for students that you serve? Is it that it's hard to communicate clearly due to the rate? Things are changing so fast. It's hard to keep the communications clear and consistent. Is it maybe a lack of responsiveness? Parents, students, kind of scattered to the four winds sometimes, it seems like, and getting them back may be a little bit more difficult this year, given all of the changes and all of the things that are happening and all of that learning now taking place in the student's home typically. Or is it all of the above? All of those things, and maybe more additionally could be added to that list for sure. All right, we're going to close that poll and we'll share those results. So it looks like most people are saying all of the above. All of the above, and I would venture to say maybe more could be added to that list. All right, so now we're talking about blended learning. Is blended learning the new normal? I've talked to several people who said to me, I think that we're going back on a hybrid model, but I think it's only a matter of time where we're going to be all virtual also. Access to academic support may be limited from school to school. This depends. Some states are unified in the way that the districts will approach things. Some states leave it up to the districts. It just depends. And also the parents may not be able to assist with their child's education. Mom is not the math expert in the household. And I can, as a parent myself, I can tell you that this is very true. My son, when he started to be about a middle schooler, I ceased to be the one who was the most capable of helping him with his homework. This was way pre-COVID, of course. However, it was a Sunday. I was in mom mode, doing laundry, cooking things for, the week ahead, bustling around the house. My son was at that time in 6th grade and preparing for a science quiz he had the next day. And he says to me, "Mom, what is the difference between intrusive and extrusive igneous rock?" And I said, because I knew that I would have to read his textbook. I would have to hope I understood it. I would also have to hope that I could explain it to him in a way that he understood it, and that I was leading him in the right way, because I knew he had a quiz on this the next day, and he wanted to do well, and I wanted him to do well. So I said to him, "Honey, why don't you have a Tutor.com session and ask the science tutor that question?" So he logged on, he asked the science tutor the question, he started his chat. I could hear him tip-tapping away on the laptop keyboard, and I heard him say, "Oh, oh, oh," and then he got it. So he was able to work with that tutor, engage right then. That tutor was able to meet him in his moment of need and get him on the way very quickly. It was all from the comfort of our own home. It was all right then when he needed it. And it was, I'm pleased to report that he actually did get an A on that quiz the next day. So yay, Tutor.com from this very fond mom. But parents, oftentimes are not the experts, but in this year more than ever, those parents are going to be responsible for getting the students the academic support that they need when they have even more limited engagements and interactions and time with their teachers than ever before also. All right, so Tutor.com for the classroom. Your client services team at Tutor.com is more than ready to help you engage with this program with the eligible students this year. We want to help you meet the students where they are. We want to help you meet the students where they are and work across all the subject areas. We want to help you bring Tutor.com into your English, math, science, social studies classes, your foreign language classes. We want to help support students with study skills. We want to help them with their writing assignments. And we can very easily be integrated into a virtual or even an on-campus, in-person classroom experience for the students. All right, Tutor.com for the classroom, math and science. Some ideas. In addition to maybe giving students extra credit or putting Tutor.com access out in your coursework that the students are getting when they're doing their remote learning as a resource for asking those tough questions. During your class time, your face-to-face interaction with those students as teachers, talk it out. Have your students use Tutor.com to chat with the tutors, work on their assignment, and during class, you can ask them to walk you through how they got the answer. That is something that allows that service to be more closely integrated with what you're talking about in class. You might give the students a challenge question the days that they're working on remote learning. You might use the quizzes that are in Tutor.com as diagnostic quizzes to have them review concepts and that you're working on in class as well. So that's a supplement. For English, Tutor.com for using it for one part of your process. I know a lot of English teachers will encourage students. Maybe some give extra credit when students do this. Maybe some teachers make it a requirement that students do this. Is that when they're getting ready to turn in a draft of a paper, they run it through Tutor.com first and work with the tutors that way. They are also referring students to the ELL tutors for support. Those tutors can help those students who are writing, who need help with grammar and vocabulary and more. Or history, social studies. Students can work on geography concepts, civics and government concepts, social studies concepts, US history, all types of research. And tutors have the ability to share educationally vetted websites and resources that students can use for assignments on a particular topic when they're doing their research. Tutor.com tutors can help with that. That's not something that most students fully appreciate until they are encouraged to use Tutor.com in that way. They don't fully appreciate that those resources are available to them as well. All right, I'm going to pause here for just a minute and ask, Lauren, do we have any questions?
Hey, Kara, no questions so far. Hold on, it looks like some questions are actually incoming. So here's a question. How can we get some type of handout that can help provide information for the first day of school or other events?
That is a great question and a great segue into the next section of our presentation. All right, so how to engage students and their families and other teachers and anyone that needs to know about Tutor.com access. We actually offer quite a few outreach resources for you. One of your greatest outreach resources, however, is your client services team at Tutor.com. I will be putting up some easy email addresses that you can use to reach the client services teams as a whole. If you are not sure who your person is, that is okay. You can reach out to us by one of those general delivery email boxes and we will get you routed to the right person pretty quickly. We also have some online promotional tools for you. So one of those is what we call our client care website. So that is, those are linked here in the presentation. Obviously, you would pick whether you were accessing through a military affiliation or through a K-12 school partner relationship to get routed to the right page. But it's all very similar resources with just a slightly different slant for each one. On the partners and promoters page, as we call it, you will find shareable resources. You will find like PDFs, like a how it works guide or a step-by-step guide. You'll find things like top 10 facts for parents. So there's a handout that answers our 10 most frequently asked questions by parents and by educators. We have those resources for you, as well as the things like you see here, where there are lots and lots of digital marketing resources. We have them categorized by topic, and we have some that are dedicated to learning from home, and we provide these things for you there online. They're free for you to use. We encourage you to use them and use them frequently to help communicate out various things about Tutor.com. We also have videos on YouTube. That is again linked here on this slide. But our YouTube channel is a great source for videos of all types. We have recordings of webinars that we've done in the past on a variety of topics, just like this one. We have quick how-to videos, a quick minute or two introduction to students, for example, or that could be sent to families on how Tutor.com works. Those types of video resources are there on our YouTube channel, and you would share them. You can post them, you can email out the links to those videos and encourage people to access them that way via our YouTube channel. We also encourage you to connect with families on Facebook. If you are an organization that has a Facebook presence, obviously we want you to join with us as we post some easily shareable information on a fairly regular basis for you to then reshare to your families. If you are not an organization that has a Facebook presence, you can still encourage the families to engage with us directly. So our Facebook pages for all of those moms and dads and all of those teachers and administrators who are also on Facebook, those links are right there on the page as well. And also, we have a channel on our YouTube page that is linked here on this slide that is strictly for webinars. So we've offered in the past webinars on a variety of topics like our study skills coaching. We have also offered webinars on teaching in an online environment. That's new for a lot of K-12 teachers. And so we have some experts at Tutor.com who have shared their expertise on doing just that. So we have webinars on a variety of topics that are organized for you. We also have for teachers usage guides. So teachers, if you wanted to, during your class time, give students an introduction to Tutor.com, which is the best way, getting them to put their fingers on that keyboard, getting them to log into their Tutor.com account, and getting them to try a Tutor.com session. That is pouring that cheese sauce over broccoli, because remember, Tutor.com is broccoli, not chocolate cake. So having the students use Tutor.com is a great way to show them that it's not just tutoring in the strictest sense of the word. It's a lot more support for them every day, all day, and they use it. We have guides. Your client services team will be more than happy to provide you with guides on exactly how to do that, step-by-step usage guides. We also have a really important belief that Tutor.com needs to be mentioned to families, to students frequently, and in a meaningful way. So to that end, we have organized promotional calendars. These calendars are also part of your handouts in the GoToWebinar. Again, you would choose military or K-12, depending on what type of access your students have to Tutor.com. But they're both relatively the same, again, with just a few little differences. But those are organized with a general time frame in mind. There is some copy that you can use if you want to put it out on Facebook, or if you wanted to send it in a newsletter, as well as a graphic that you could use that's relevant to the topics that are in that text. And speaking of webinars, as I just was, you are invited, and your families are invited, back by popular demand, because they were so well attended, and when we did them in the spring and over the summer. We're bringing back for fall for students and families webinars on these study skills topics: time management, goal setting, study skills, critical thinking, etc. So these would be webinars that families can attend. This is not a Tutor.com how-to session. It is much more of us sharing our expertise from our internal experts here at Tutor.com on those topics of time management and stress management. This would be for families, and we have a calendar of these events with registration links. That is also part of your handouts, and that calendar can be shared to families. You can post that on Facebook, etc. So those are coming up starting in September, when we all need to know about time management. I think we need to know that right now today, actually. Stress management, I'm definitely looking forward to on October 2nd. And for those of you who are affiliated with Tutor.com through a K-12 school partnership, you have access to what we call the client portal, which is our admin site. So if you are an administrator or a teacher who works with a Gear Up program, for example, you may want to get with your Gear Up coordinator and see about how you can get access to the Tutor.com usage data, because we provide a wealth of it. No matter how your students access Tutor.com, however, whether it's through the military funded program or through the K-12 school partnership programs, you have access to monthly reports. We can put you on a distribution list to receive the report for usage in your area. Again, that would be something to let your client services team know. If you would like to be added to that list and you don't already have that access, please let us know and we will be glad to work with you to get that set up. But you can see usage like how many tutoring sessions there were, what grades, what subjects, what were the user comments, all of those types of good information to know about how Tutor.com is being utilized in your area. All right, so I'm going to say thank you to you right now because this has been a great session. I want to point out that the email addresses there at the bottom, client support at Tutor.com and military support at Tutor.com, are your one-stop shop for connecting with your client services team at Tutor.com if you do not know who your client services person is already. And while you are copying those down, although you don't need to because they're actually contained in the PowerPoint slides that you have available in your handout section, I'm going to pause once again and ask any final questions. Lauren, are there any questions?
Sorry about that. I need to come off of mute. So yes, there are a few questions here.
Okay,
Toggling
great.
between screens. So one of the questions, it's a bit long, so I'm going to try to shorten it down here. But one of the participants mentions that there's been some students that had some challenges with things like self-advocacy. They have some learning challenges and had a little bit of difficulty with using our service because they didn't know how to handle clarifying questions or bring maybe the right information to the session to make it most effective. So do you have tips for them on how they might encourage students to approach those sessions, maybe how to prepare for those sessions, and what might make it a little easier for those students that do have particular challenges?
Well, I would say that one of the things that it's important to communicate is that the students need to bring a question or something that they want to work on with the tutor to the session. Have that in mind. Our tutors are able to provide example problems if needed, but they need to know what topic and what the student needs to work on. And beyond that, I would encourage you, if you have a really specific situation to address, I would encourage you to connect with your client services team. And we can help you look into your situation with your students and come up with some more specific solution based on what those exact challenges are.
The other couple things I was thinking about, Kara, would be they might try using the quiz tool that we have on most programs to do some practice problems, maybe find a problem that they got wrong on the quiz, and then they can bring that into the tutoring session. So if they don't really know what they want to work on, the quiz engine helps them do some practice problems in different content areas like math and algebra and things like that. And that might be a good sort of gateway to get them started, get them a little more comfortable, figure out a problem they want to work on with their tutor. Okay, next question. If a student gets a tutor that they really learn well from, are they able to request that tutor for future sessions?
Well, the answer is yes. Tutor.com offers what we call favorite tutors. It's aptly named. So if a student works well, we have over 3,000 tutors that work with us because we do provide academic support to hundreds and thousands of students every single night. We have over 3,000 tutors that work for us. And we do allow a student to note if they would like to work with that tutor again. So there is a function called favorite tutors. The student is asked a couple different ways if they want to add that tutor that they just worked with to that list of favorite tutors. And the way that works is on subsequent logins, if a student wants to, they log in and if they see that one of their favorite tutors is available and working right then, that student can connect, choose to wait in line to connect with that tutor, or they can connect with the first available. Another feature that we have at Tutor.com is called scheduled sessions, and that allows a student to find a tutor and work with that tutor when that tutor is available. So that could be a favorite, or it could be another tutor, but that's another way that we have where students have a little bit more decision making about which tutor they connect with. Was that all? Was that all, Lauren?
As far as I can see at this moment, there was one other question that was just about having some trouble with the handouts. And just in general, if any of you need the handouts, cannot retrieve them from this session today, you can always email us at those email addresses you see on the screen, client support or military support, and one of our team members will help get those for you.